They found him alone, slumped forward in his recliner. No signs of injury, no cry for help. Just silence, the TV still glowing, his robe still open, and a quiet emptiness in the room, the kind stillness that only follows Sumathinger Verber's The Autopsy. Listed natural causes, but to those of us who know Thesens, it was something else, silent hormonal. Collapse, the slow unraveling OFA. Man's vitality not because of disease a bit, because of neglect. And sadly, he's note, the only one every year thousands folder. Men experience this same decline in strength, in sexual function and emotional clarity, all while thinking they're doing the right thing by giving up what they assume they no longer need. For decades, we've told men to stay away from self-pleasure, that it's a mature shamuful unnecessary, but after age 60, that belief can quietly cost you everything, because here's the truth. No one's saying aloud when you stop masturbating. In old age, your body doesn't just pause, it begins to deteriorate, your prostate stagnates. Your testosterone crashes, your emotionalisals withers, and by the time you'll feel the effects, you're already years bent. I'm Dr. Mojit Kara, a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist with over 40 years of experience helping aging men reclaim their vitality, confidence, and quality of life. I've sat with farmers, veterans, teachers, and grandfathers who all thought they were doing the right thing, be abstaining, and I've watched the quit regret in their eyes when the damage definitely caught up, because most of them had no idea that the habits they picked up decades ago, habits society told them were shameful, are now silently backfiring in the most critical years after our life. But there's good news in this video. I'm going to walk you through the 4 real health consequences that occur when you stop masturbating in older age, and more importantly, how to prevent them before it's too late. These are simple, practically sound solutions that thousands of my patients have used to protect their sexual health, restore their energy, and avoid common issues that most men mistake as just getting gooled. And make sure you stay until the end, because the last consequence I'll share is the one even most doctors won't talk about yet. It's also the one that could only triple your risk of prostate complications if left unrest. If you care about protecting your body, your confidence, and your independence as you'll want to hear it. And if you're watching, right? Okay, no. Type hone in the comments if you're with me or zero. If you're skeptical, I welcome both Beckos. This is a conversation older men deserve to have without shame and with real answers. Now, let's begin with the first and perhaps most dangerous consequence of giving up masturbation. In old age, I've seen it: loss of penile function more times than I can count. A man in his late 60s or early 70s walks into my office confused and frustrated. He tells me he hasn't had a spontaneous erection in months. Besides been over a year, and what shakes him the most isn't the lack of performance, it's the suddenness of it all one day. He felt like himself, then X'd something inside just stop it working. It catches most men off guard, because no one ever told them that giving up sexual activity could cause their sexual function to fade away like anunuzetisol. Let me put this plainly: your penis is not just an ornament, a functional organ that requires regular circulation to stay healthy. When you go long stretches without any stimulation, easily after age 60, something dangerous begins to happen. Blood flow slows down, oxygen delivery decreases, the tissues begin to stiffen, not in the good way, but in the way that leads to fibrosis, nerve damage, and irreversibleness of erectile capacity. That's not just theory, that's basic vascular biology. Think of it like this: if you stopped moving your legs entirely for 6 months, what would happen? You'd lose muscle coordination, flexibility. You might even forget how to walk. The same principle applies to the you. I'd look at this, and we all know I've been exploring that like we would look at this. I'd like that we would not want to lock. I like why we not lost stopped moving your legs entirely with 6 mdhf. What would we lost to my seasons? We would lose must do we cord a lust of coordination for coordination fleck pride kite. Up a cordy side wike at we wall at this cod we are with Kai weight of Kawai at call like with this, so at we do lie to side we I we see you do we so we I say you so you to you can you I do we like we with that we can I can we got with which of you that the key I key we got I like key guys we got can I have what it Penis after ascertain age, it doesn't just go on standby. It starts shutting down when noticed. And the worst part, this declined doesn't. Come with a loud warning. It's silent creeping. You don't notice until it's too late one day. You realize you're mourning. Erections are gone, then even physical touch or fantasy doesn't do thetric. Eventually, even with medications, body doesn't respond the way it useto. It's because the foundation has already eroded. I've had men sit across from Elise watering, asking if they can get it back. Some do with aggressive therapal changes and medical support, but others they waited too long, they thought. Quitting masturbation wash arm last that it was a sign of self-control, but in reality it was the quiet beginning of terms. Beginning of functional decay, and let me be clear, this isn't about being obsessed with sex. It's a boot protecting a vital part of your circulatory system, your hormonal regulation, and your masculine identity. Maintaining occasional solo activity once or twice a week can keep the blood flowing, keep the nerves alive, and remind your body that this function still matters. The truth is what you don't, you see, start to lose, and when you're older that loss can be permanent. I've seen it devastate Minot because they're trying to impress Enyen, but because it impacts their self-esteem, their relationships, their sense of being a man. And what's most tragic, it was preventable, completely preventable. A lit required was consistency. No indulgence butantion. Now, while most men fear losing their erections, what they don't realize is that's just the beginning, because the next consequence of quitting masturbation affects something even deeper. Your hormones, and once they begin to crash, the ripple effects go far beyond the bedroom. Let me show you exactly how it usually starts. Subtly, testosterone production drops. Man stops feeling like himself, but heckin' quite explain why he's not as excited to get out of bed in the morning. Skips his walks, his appetite changes. Mood gets flatter. He feels more tired during the day, more irritable, more withdrawn. And deep down he sensed something important is slipping away. Bub can't put his finger on it in McClinic. I've seen men chalk it up to stress, too bad sleep. But when we dig deeper, we often find the same root cause there. Testosterone has dropped. Not just naturally with age, but accelerated by the complete loss of sexual stimulation. And here's what most people hear: masturbation is one of the few non-pharmaceutical ways older men can stimulate natural testosterone. It's not about sex or fantasy, it's about biology. When you engage in regular arousal and release, your brain sends signals that help regulate your hormonal dopamine levels rise. The hypothalamus activates, and your testicles, even in your 60s or 70s, get message, keep producing testosterone bots. When you stop that process altogether, when you go weeks or months with no sexual activity at all, the massage your body receives is the opposite. It thinks intimacy is no longer needed, so it scales back hormone reproduction. And once that cycle begins, it can become hard to reverse. Men with low testosterone don't just feel tired, they begin to lose their identity. They can't focus, they lose interest in the things that once made them proud. Their muscles begin to weaken, their bones become more fragile, they become more prone to depression. And perhaps most dangerously of all, their cardiovascular risk increases, putting them in greater danger of heart attacks, strokes. I've seen once vibrant men become shadows of themselves within a few short years, not because they were sick, but because no one ever told them how vital, healthy, regular sexual stimulation is for maintaining hormonal health. One patient of mine, a retired Victor, told me after his hormonal dropped, he began to feel like it didn't matter anymore. His words still sit with me. He said, "Doc, I don't even recognize the man in the mirror. And they'll never forget the look in his eyes. It wasn't vanity, it was grief, and this didn't have to happen with a little education and a simple habit he thought was wrong he could have preserved. Not just his hormones, but his happiness, his energy, his drive. Because here's the hard truth. NSAID or testosterone crashes in old age. It can take years of therapy and thousands of dollars to get it back if it comes back at all. But with steady, respectful engagement in your own intimacy, you can hold the line longer than most people think possibly. While hormones are often invisible, next consequence is something every man feels in a much more physical, painful way, a condition that builds quietly deep inside the body. Gentle. It starts interfering with your daily life, and most don't even realize it's tied to one simple thing they're no longer doing. Let me explain. There's a kind of discomfort, increased risk of prostate congestion and pain. Older men don't often talk about a heavy dual ache deep in the pelvis, a strange pressure after sitting too long, or then nagging need to urinate even when the bladder isn't full. It doesn't come on suddenly like a heart attack. It builds slowly, quietly, until it starts disrupting your daily life, and by the time most men mention ETO, their doctor, they've already been living with it for months, so matam his ears. What's shocking is how often this silent suffering can be traced back to overlooked cause: prostate congestion caused by a lack of ejaculation. Your prostate isn't just a bistanor. In the male body, it's an active gland that produces and stores seminal fluid. That fluid is meant to move vites, meant to be flushed when you stop masturbating or having sex. Compellably in your later years, that fluid sits, and when it sits, thickens, pressure-ables, inflammation creeps in. That's when you start noticing changes: slower urine flow, discomfort in your lower back. It's constant need to go feeling that wakes you up in the middle of the night. As a urologist, I can't tell ya how many older patients come in thinking they have a bladder issue, only to discover that what they're dealing with is an irritated, inflamed prostate. In many cases, the solution isn't medication, it's movement. It's the body's natural cleansing process through regular ejaculation, and when that process is ignored for too long, the consequence can be severe. Some men develop chronocrostatus, a painful, long-term inflammation that's difficult to treat and even harder to live with. Others find themselves needing invasive procedures just to feel normal again, and beyond the physical discomfort, there's another layer of danger that most men never hear about. Research including a well-known Harvard study has found that regular ejaculation may help lower the risk of prostate cancer. The theory is simple. When the prostate is regularly emptied, it reduces the buildup of potentially harmful substances, but when that fluid is allowed to stagnate it for months on end, it may increase inflammation and long-term risk. One man I treated had gone almost 2 years without any sexual activity. Hadn't feel the need, he told me, thought it was behind him, but when his salival spiked and we ran more tests, we found significant congestion. His prostate was swollen and irritated, and was facing biopsy discussions. That could have been avoided with something as simple and natural as maintaining coccolation. This isn't about encouraging glees or indulgence, it's about preventing spurring. It's about understanding that male body doesn't suddenly stop needing care after 60. If anything, it needs more attention, more respect. That prostate is one of the most vulnerable organs in older men, and when neglect's damage isn't just uncomfortable, it can be life-altering. But while a congested prostate might cause pain, irritation, and long nights running to the bathroom, the final consequence hits deeper. It strikes at the core of how a man feels about himself, and for many, it's the one they never see coming until it's already taken hold. Let me show you what I mean. Emotional and intimacy decline. The quietest decline of all, and often the most devastating. It doesn't show up on blood tests. It's not something you can easily measure, but you'll feel it deep down, a slow fading of the spark. You once had a creeping sense of disconnection, a distance from yourself that you can't quite explain. It happens gradually. You've stopped masturbating because you think you don't need to anymore. You tell yourself it's age, or a lack of interest, or simply the way life works. When You're not in a relationship, bite over time. That decision doesn't just affect your body. It reaches into your mind, your emotions, your very sense. Psh, Benjaleeve, I've spoken with men who've said they feel hollow inside, not because ecstasy or pain, but because they've gone months, sometimes years without any form of release, without any intimacy, even with themselves. And slowly they begin to feel invisible, unwanted, unnecessary. They didn't talk about it, of course. Most older men were never taught how, but it shows in the way they walk, in the way they avoid mirrors, in the way their voice grow quieter when you ask how they're doing. This isn't about sex. This is about vitality, about the subtle but powerful connection between your physical body and your emotional well-being. When you give up self-pleasure entirely, you cut off one of the last remaining pathways to joy, to self-recognition, to feeling human. And for men over 60, that's not just a loss, that's a wound. Because your arousal, pleasure, and release aren't just for youth, they're part of what keeps your brain engaged, your hormones balanced, your emotions. You'll find neurologically that chemicals, releasing, masturbation, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins are essential for regulating mood, reducing anxiety, and reinforcing emotion stability. Without them, men are more likely to experience depression, lanies, and even cognitive decline. Have seen men who were once confident, sociable, slowly become isolate, withdrawn, and apathetic, not because their lives changed drastically, but because they stopped connecting with a part of themselves that once made them feel. And here's what makes this so dangerous: many men don't realize this connection exists. They never link the emotional numbness to the decision they made months ago to stop engaging in intimacy. By the time they feel fix, the damage has already begun, and reversing it requires more than just hormone therapy or a new routine. It takes rebuilding the relationship with yourself, remembering that even in old age, your body still longs to feel, to express, to connect. This is the consequence that breaks my heart the most, because it's the one that steals a man's dignity. Without him even realizing it, it takes away the quiet confidence he used to carry, the warmth he used to offer, and leaves behind a shell he no longer recognized. Bed. Here's the truth. I want every man to hear. It's never too late to come back, Toyer. Self, never too late to reawaken the energy you thought was gone and in Thephanol. Part of this video, I'll show you exactly how this simple science-backed steps you can take today to restore what so many older men have lost, and what you still have the power to protect. Let's finish this together. Conclusion. A vital part of youthers. A belief many older men carry, that intimacy, pleasure, and desire are things you grow out of that after a certain age. Your body is supposed to go quite that. It's noble, maybe even respectable, to give that part of yourself up. But after more than 30 years, a doctor working with men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, I can tell you that belief is costing far too many men their health, their happiness, and their attention. Heard today how stopping masturbation can lead to the slow breakdown of your sexual function, a dangerous drop in your hormones, the swelling and inflammation of your prostate, and a silent emotional numbness that erodes as your spirit day by day. These aren't small changes. These are faltering shifts that happen not because of aging, but because of neglect. But the good news is, it doesn't have to be this way. Your body still remembers how to feel, your mind still longs for connection, and your health still depends on you honoring every part of yourself, even the parts no one else sees. This isn't about lust, it's about life. It's about preserving what Makasu feels stronghold and human you didn't need to feel ashamed for. It's choosing health over silence. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to take it serious, like it personally, because it is personal. And if you're ready to take back control of this part of your life, with you, you're not alone, and you're an IT. If this message spoke to some at the known side, you even just a little type 09 in the comments to let me know your rest all. Hear that you still care, that you're still fighting for your health. And if it didn't, that's okay to type a 0 and tell me what you need. Either way, your voice matters, and you're not alone.